Your shirt, Bob.
Oh, thank you, Gail. I wore it in honor of you.
Did you? Thank you. That's one of the rare ones. That's
I know
a,
because it's hanging in my closet. This is one of the original.
that is. I mean, that's a
Collector's.
there we go. That's the word I was looking for. That's a collector's item. He's moonlighting.
The Plymouth Township Planning Commission meeting will come to order at 7 p.m. Secretary, please call roll.
Chairperson Cebulski.
Here.
Commissioner Barberina. Here. Commissioner Grieger, here. Commissioner Dorshevitz.
Here.
Commissioner Barry.
Here.
Commissioner Boyd.
Here.
Commissioner Ladowak.
Here. Thank you. And we have need a motion to approve the agenda. There is one deletion, and that is for the Big Coffee sign. They've asked to come back to another meeting. They're still going to be working on their sign. So with that, is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the agenda as amended.
There's
Support.
moved by Commissioner Barberina and supported by Commissioner Boyd to approve the June 19th agenda as corrected or as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And a motion to approve the minutes of our May 15th meeting. There was one error, and that deals with the extension we did for the storage next to or adjacent to the USA Hockey. The minutes read September 15th of 2025, and it should be September 15th of 2024. So with that correction, are there any others? If not, is there a motion to move as corrected?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the minutes of the May 15th meeting as corrected.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Barberina and supported by Commissioner Grieger to approve the corrected minutes of May 15th. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This is the time for public comments for any non-agenda items. So you have 3 minutes, and we ask you to step up to the podium, give us your name and address if you so desire. We ask you to be clear, concise, cogent, and most importantly, civil. So is there anyone here that wishes to speak to a non-agenda item? Okay. Hearing none, we will close the public comment on this. Next, we have a public hearing on application 2522, a special land use for the Plymouth pickleball facility. And Ms. Howell, do you report, or whoever planner is there that wishes to do it?
Yes, so the applicant is requesting special land use approval for an indoor pickleball facility within an existing industrial building at 45606 Mast Street, which is located within the Metro West Industrial Park between Sheldon and Beck Roads. This existing building is currently unoccupied with some warehousing that is used and is situated on approximately 1.94 acres. This is in the IND Industrial District, where indoor recreational facilities are considered a special land use, therefore requiring a public hearing. Special land use approval includes 6 criteria for the Planning Commission to consider. I'll go through these in the review. The first criteria is that the use is of a location, size, and character, that it will be in harmony with the appropriate and orderly development of the district in which it is situated, will not be detrimental to the orderly development of adjacent districts or uses. The adjacent uses are all zoned IND industrial, and are classified as light industrial in the future land use designation. The adjacent properties, the proposed facility is adjacent to primarily industrial uses, as well as an approved indoor recreation facility north of the property, and another fitness center to the southeast, Kickstart Soccer. The proposed indoor recreational facility we found is less intensive than other industrial uses in the area. Secondly, the use is consistent with the master plan, or not in conflict with the industrial designation of the master plan. There are no natural features on the site, existing significant natural features, as it is a existing developed site. There are some mature landscape areas which the applicant will maintain. No vegetation will be removed or changed as part of this project. And finally, for criteria 1, the purpose of the industrial district is to accommodate a mix of industrial research, wholesale, and service uses of the community in an attractive and functional manner. And this facility would not be disruptive or negatively impact any properties in the surrounding area in that way. It's also considered a service use, fitting in those use categories. The second criteria is that it is designed, located, and proposed to be operated so that the public health, safety, and welfare will be protected. We believe that the existing building can accommodate the proposed use and will not be a detriment to the public health, safety, and welfare. All the activities will occur inside of the building. The third criteria, the use will be adequately served by public services and facilities without diminishing or adversely affecting public services and facilities to existing land uses in the area. The site is adequately serviced by existing utilities. The township engineer will also make final determination on the quality of those systems if the special land use is approved. Fourth criteria is that the vehicular circulation for the proposed use will be in the best interest of the public health, safety, and welfare in relationship to egress and ingress to the site, vehicular turning movements related to street intersections and street gradient, site distance, and potential hazards to the normal flow of traffic. No change to the existing site circulation or parking area is proposed with this use. The property has vehicular access to three curb cuts. A single curb cut on Jib and 2 along Mast. We talk about the anticipated traffic volume on the following criteria. Criteria number 5 is that the location, use, and assembly of persons in connection with the proposed use will not be hazardous to the planning unit in which the use is located, or hazardous to a specific use or life and property within the planning unit, or be incongruous therewith or in conflict with the normal traffic of the planning unit. We found that the proposed use will not be hazardous to surrounding properties. In the project narrative, the applicant notes that they estimate about 20 to 25 players could be actively playing in the facility at any given time. The other tenant in the building, Sales Service Plus, would share this parking lot. The peak times for both of these businesses do not overlap significantly. Their office space would mostly be open during the non-peak times of the facility during the day. This would likely generate less traffic than a warehouse use. A warehouse use requires more parking than tennis and racquetball facilities. And this use would also eliminate the concern of frequent truck traffic to the site. The final criteria is criteria number 6. The proposed site layout is in compliance with the general site development standards of Article 29, Site Plan and Development Approval. Subject to Article 29, the property must be designated to comply with all of the relevant ordinances, including parking, lighting, landscaping, screening, and signage. As a developed site, we find that this site complies with these requirements, and no outdoor facilities are proposed with this project, and no external changes to the site. Based on these criteria, our recommendation is, pending any additional information presented during the public hearing, we recommend the Planning Commission grant special land use approval for the indoor recreational facility at 45606 Mass Street, based upon compliance with the above stated special land use criteria of Section 2.7 of the zoning ordinance, including but not limited to: A, the site is less intensive than other industrial uses in the area and is consistent with the use of indoor recreation facilities in the immediate area. B, the project aligns with the goals of the 2015 master plan. C, the proposed site layout complies with the required dimensional standards for the IND Industrial Light Zoning District. And D, no variance is necessary to accommodate this development. We can now open up for discussion from the board. Questions from the board?
Are there any questions on the planners report at this point? We didn't get anything from the fire department, did we? Is that required? Okay. Is there a representative here from the Pickleball Association? Do you want to come up and do you have anything to say to us or presentation?
That would be the guy that says pickleball on it.
Well, I figured, yeah, you put together a very thorough report, I guess you'd call it, or what you plan on doing there.
My name is Paul Price, and this is Calvin Busher. We're two of the four that run Plymouth Pickleball with Angel, and Katie is the other two. It's been growing and growing month over month, and it got to the point where we were just really looking to expand. Really excited about it. We're really excited to join the township.
Yeah, we've been able to teach more than 500 people how to play football. More than 2,000 people have visited us, so unique players have played with us. And it's just been a joy to foster a community of players here in Plymouth, and look forward to growing that community and making pickleball part of it.
Are there any questions from the commission? Typically, we ask for a use statement, so we didn't get the use statement, but we can have, if we approve this tonight, we can just have this attached, and that'll be our use statement. The only thing I think I didn't see is, what are your hours of operation?
So, ideally, we're going to be 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. That's the end goal.
You can.
So, Ms. Howe, when you prepare the final, I don't know, stamping or whatever your process is, to make sure the hours of operation are included. Okay. If there are no questions from the commission at this point, I'll open up the public hearing. You can have a seat, and we might call you back. Okay? So with that, we'll open the public hearing at 7:13. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak to this application?
Mr. Chairman, before we proceed with the public hearing, I
Okay.
want to say that I am involved with Plymouth Pickleball because I lease space to them in the park gymnasium, so I've known them for over 2 years, so I just wanted to put that on the record,
Okay.
that I do have a relationship with them.
Okay. Any other comments? All right, if not, we'll close the public hearing at 7:14. Are there any questions from the commission? Are we ready for a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we grant special land use approval for PC application number 2522, the Plymouth Pickleball, based upon compliance with the special land use criteria of section 2.7 of the zoning ordinance, including but not limited to, 1, the site is less intensive than other industrial uses in the area and is consistent with the use of indoor recreation facilities in the immediate area. 2, the project aligns with the goals of the 2015 master plan. 3, the proposed site layout complies with the required dimensional standards for the IND Industrial Light Zoning District. 4, no variance is necessary to accommodate this development. And 5, that the presentation packet provided by the applicant will be included with the application as their use statement.
And the hours of operation.
And the hours of operation will also be listed.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Barberina and supported by Commissioner Dorchevitz to approve the special land use request for 2522 Plymouth Pickleball. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Well, congratulations.
Congratulations. Good luck.
Yeah. Next is application 2526, Crest Haven for cluster housing option. And Ms. Howell or whoever, give us your report.
Thank you. Evening, Commissioners. The application before you is a cluster housing option, which is a residential form of development that's been submitted by Phoenix Management, Mr. Leo Gonzalez as the applicant, with the homes on the site to eventually be constructed by Pulte Homes of Michigan. The project occupies over 6 acres on the west side of Canton Center Road, south of Ann Arbor Road, and north of Joy Road. This development is directly south of the Margate Cluster Housing Development and will be connected via an existing stub road, Balsam Drive, that's located in Margate. That street was stubbed with the intention that once this property was also redeveloped for residential, that it would be connected and the two neighborhoods would be more unified development. This proposal is for 19 single-unit detached residential homes. On page 2 of our review, we briefly start to outline the review and approval process for a cluster housing development. As the Commission is aware, cluster housing developments are multi-step, is a multi-step process. The first being this evening, holding a public hearing, taking comments from adjacent property owners in the community, and looking at the eligibility of the cluster housing option. So it's not getting into necessarily those really fine details of a site plan, but looking at the 5 eligibility principles that the zoning ordinance lays out and making sure that this proposed residential development aligns with those principles. On page 3, there is just a quick flow chart to show the multiple steps that are involved in a cluster housing process. And each of these boxes is at least one public meeting. And right now, we're just at that very initial step. As a cluster housing as well, the Planning Commission makes a recommendation to the Board of Trustees. They have the final authority on the cluster housing eligibility. So moving on to page 4 of our review, there are elements of this proposal that directly align with the adopted zoning ordinance and master plan, 2015 master plan of the township. I mean, just in terms of basic use, the site is zoned the R1S, one family residential district, and the proposed use consists entirely of single unit, single family homes. So that use is aligned with the zoning district. The cluster housing also limits developments to parcels that consist of 40 acres or less, and at just 6.5 acres, this development also complies with that cluster housing criteria. In terms of the master plan from 2015, this property is designated as residential low intermediate density, which is intended for single family residential developments between 1 and 3 dwelling units per acre. So with the density proposed at Crest Haven, there's 19 total units. It's just shy of 3 dwelling units per acre. It's 2.93 dwelling units per acre. So at that density, the proposed development does correspond with that future land use category in the future land use map. So there's alignment with both the zoning ordinance in terms of the basic use and the master plan. The applicant has provided a parallel plan. This is discussed on page 5 of our review. They also, it's included in the plan set if you wanted to reference that. If this was developed under the conventional R1S zoning district, there would be 6 fewer dwelling units that would be permitted. There'd be 13. So with the cluster housing option and having some flexibility with the setbacks and lot sizes, an additional 6 units are gained for that total of 19. So that's kind of the difference that we are looking at. If it was developed under the traditional R1S zoning district, it would be 2.05 dwelling units per acre. So again, it's still within what the master plan recommends. It's just at the higher end of that. So the rest of our review goes through multiple different components, many of which are underlined, which means or indicates that these are items that we believe warrant further discussion and revisions by the applicant. I think they kind of boil down into 2 main buckets. The first deals with natural features and the environmental quality of the site. So in the applicant's concept plan, they have provided on the west property line and on the south property line areas for conservation. And those are labeled landscape and conservation areas and woodland reclamation conservation area. There's a small area in the northwest corner of the property where they're proposing as that woodland reclamation area and to have that be open space. When you look at the tree plan that they've provided, the existing tree survey, and what trees will be removed, and then what's to be planted back, I think there's still a gap between doing some plantings, but truly having a conservation area that will act as a benefit to the ecosystem and like a lush green buffer. So in our review of this, we would like to see that area enhanced along the west and the south property lines, as well as the woodland conservation easement area, including additional evergreens, not just all deciduous trees, making sure that these areas are also not just seeded land or seeded lawn to provide more of an environmental benefit. I don't believe that it's intended that these areas would be actively used by residents of the community, but rather to kind of let nature take over and be natural buffers and actual ecological benefit. So we think there needs to be some further thought in there, and also if there might be some additional trees that could be saved, especially around the detention basin, if there's any flexibility with that area, that needs some more revisiting. One of the benefits of a cluster housing option is that the amount of green space, the amount of, it's not public because it's not a public park, but it's common ownership green space for the residents that live there, that green space will be maintained right in perpetuity as green space and can't just be completely all the trees cut down, right? So there's a benefit to having that type of dedicated green space as opposed to just larger lots of private lawn area. And that's one conflict that I think we're still seeing with this proposal. The applicant hasn't provided yet the percentage of shared open space that would result from the cluster housing versus what that would be in the parallel plan. And so having those 2 figures and being able to compare, okay, what's really gained in terms of land area and percentage of the lot with the cluster housing, I think is an important consideration that should be provided for your review. That's kind of the first bucket for discussion.
The second deals with the housing itself. One of the goals of the master plan, even though it aligns with the future land use map, the goals of the master plan speak to housing diversity and the importance of the architectural character. And we do have some concerns about the architectural character. With only 19 units, the diversity of the housing that's going to be in the neighborhood is important, so that it doesn't, appear as just a cookie cutter development. That doesn't necessarily enhance the area. The applicants' renders that they've provided are conceptual. They note that they would be developing specific building elevations for these different housing types further along in the process, but I think it would be helpful to the commission to see what some of those styles are actually going to be, even if it's just a couple unit types, to get a better sense of what is going on these lots. I think showing the footprint of those buildings on the lots would also be helpful. They do describe the building envelope, but to see the true footprint of the home and the type of product that they're looking to situate would give a general idea of the massing of the property. And it may permit other housing typologies, such as a ranch style product. Maybe a couple of the units could be dedicated to a ranch style, or something that is at least all first floor accessible. If we're looking at expanding housing choices and providing that in the community, maybe 1 or 2 units could be dedicated to that. And there's some missing items when it comes to the lots themselves, just with the setbacks and some dimensions, and understanding that, the driveways and such. So I think it's
Sorry, what page are you on now?
the one I'm mentioning right now is on page 7.
7? Okay,
Yeah.
I got behind there, yeah, okay. Sorry.
I'm kind of skipping around because
Yeah.
the 5 eligibility principles, these fit in underneath various ones. So
Okay.
we think having some additional dimensions would help on each of the lots, would help provide a clear picture of what types of housing can fit and how that would lay out. So those are the 2 critical buckets that we see needing to be addressed tonight. And because of those 2 items, we feel that this cluster housing has the potential to meet the eligibility principles, but we believe that further thought is necessary in order to ensure that that compatibility is there. So we're recommending the discussion tonight to hold a public hearing, hear from the community, and then have the applicant resubmit some revised plans and present to the township at a future date. Thank you.
Thank you. And we've received a report from the fire department. They have found no deficiencies as far as from a public safety perspective. And will one of you give the engineering report? Are you familiar with this? Oh, he's here. Oh, there you are. Okay.
Good evening. We have received the cluster housing option submittal for the Grace Haven project, prepared by Simit Bosniak and Associates, dated May 16 of this year, and were received by our office on May 24. Our letter is dated June 13, and the following are our comments. The site is located on the west side of Cantor Center Road, between Ann Arbor Road and Joy Road. It is noted as 6.49 acres total area and 6.33 acres with the right-of-way subtracted on the submitted plan. The site currently is occupied by a greenhouse in the back of 9133, and the remainder of the site is vacant. The proposed cluster housing option includes a total of 19 single-family residential homes. The lots are accessed off Cantor Center Road by an approach and a 27-foot wide roadway, which connects to the existing private road, Balsam Drive, on the north side of the site. The right-of-way for the roadway is shown as 60 feet. There is no indication on the plan whether the proposed roadway is a public or private right-of-way. The project narrative provided with the package indicated that the proposed road extension of Balsam Drive will be private. Additional traffic calming and safety measures might be required during the site plan review near the tight radius of the S-curve on Balsam Drive for safety concerns. The proposed parcel A legal description is within 2 parcels. This will require a proposed land combination prior to final site plan approval. There is an existing 8-inch diameter water main located north of the proposed cluster housing within the Margate development along the east side of Balsam. There is another existing 12-inch water main located on the east of Cantor Center Road between Ann Arbor Road and Joy Road. An extension of the 8-inch diameter water main from the property to the south, and an extension of the 12-inch water main west from Cantor Center Road is shown on the plans. The proposed water main is located within the 60-foot private road and utility easement. No plantings or landscape will be allowed within 6 feet of the water main on either side, 12 feet total. There is an existing 12-inch diameter sanitary sewer located to the west of Cantor Center Road between Ann Arbor Road and Joy Road. The proposed project shows extending the sewer west to serve the site. The proposed sanitary sewer is located within the 60-foot private road and utility easement. No plantings or landscape will be allowed within 10 feet of the sanitary sewer in either side, 20 feet total. Stormwater runoff is to be captured by catch basins and drained to the proposed detention basin and forebay on the east side of the site with outlet to the ditch along the Cantor Center Road right-of-way. Preliminary stormwater management calculations were provided. It is shown that the stormwater management system is sized properly for the proposed development. The stormwater control system and outlet will require approval and a permit from Wayne County Department of Public Services. Based on the comments stated in our review letter, and in addition to the planner's report, we recommend tabling the proposed cluster housing option request to allow the applicant to revise the plans before coming back to the Planning Commission. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is the applicant here? Okay.
Good evening. My name's Andy Wozniak. I'm with Zymet Wozniak, and I'm here, we're the civil engineers on the project. And I'm here on behalf of Pulte Homes in Michigan and Phoenix Management Holdings. First of all, we'd like to thank you for this opportunity to present Crest Haven for consideration as a cluster housing development. There are benefits we'd like to discuss that will be provided with a cluster housing option versus a conventional site plan. The reduced unit size will provide approximately 37% more open space. That's something we just spoke about. We did, when we got the review letter, we did calculate that. The reduced unit size provides the opportunity for conservation easements along the west and south property lines. This results in the preservation of existing vegetation, provides a landscape buffer to the adjacent neighbors. The units will be located closer to the road than traditional required setback, which will encourage interaction between neighbors. The reduced unit size provides the opportunity to construct a woodland reclamation area and a conservation easement in the northwest corner of the development, and so create a high-quality woodland area. Additional units will provide more tax revenue for the township. For inspiration, we used Margate as an example of an exemplary development in the township. Margate allows families to live in a close-knit community with the ability to walk to the neighborhood schools. We feel that our design captures the best features of Margate and improves on it. The road design is similar to Margate and will connect Balsam Drive to North Canton Center Road, which will provide another means of access for residents and, more importantly, emergency vehicles. Margate provides 67% open space and we're proposing 70% open space. We are proposing a conservation easement and landscape buffers on all surrounding properties. The conservation easement along the west property line will preserve the specimen trees and the understory. Selective removal of invasive, low-quality trees will permit the specimen trees to flourish. A minimum of 35 new trees will be planted in the west and south conservation easements to provide a buffer between the existing houses and Crest Haven, sorry. We are creating a designated woodland that will be protected by conservation easement. Landscape and conservation areas are located along both sides of the first 200 feet of the entrance. When you come off of North Canton Center Road on each side, there's going to be, there you go, there's going to be a green space, which will provide somewhat of a dramatic approach, and the houses are offset off of Canton Center Road. We are proposing 25-foot-long driveways, which will allow full-size vehicles to park in the driveway without encroaching on the public sidewalk. Most of the elevations provide large front porches. The design provides wider sites and larger side yard and front yard setbacks than Margate, and will provide a little extra green space between the houses. A few additional items from the review letter that we would like to address. The landscape plan provided with the submittal meets the minimum requirements for the cluster housing option. There will be multiple opportunities during this site plan approval process to work with the township, planners, and staff to create the final design, and that includes creating that woodland in the northwest corner of the site. There will be 4 parking spaces per unit, 2 in the garage and 2 in the driveway. Connecting the road from North Canton Center Road to Margate limits the options for a creative design. You're basically tied into going from Canton Center Road to Balsam Drive. The proposed 5-foot wide sidewalk along the west side of North Canton Center Road will replace the existing walk and will be ADA compliant. It will extend north in front of the 2 outlots, which is in addition to the site plan requirements for a sidewalk along the frontage of the development. North Canton Center Road will be paved from the end of the pavement near the school entrance to the south end of this development. This paving substantially exceeds the required paving of the project frontage. I'd like to welcome the representative from Pulte Homes to address the house designs. And again, thank you for this opportunity. And the development team's here to answer any questions.
Good evening. My name's Kirk Thomas. I'm with Pulte Homes in Michigan. I just want to take a quick second to address the product type, product variations. So we're very excited to bring a single-family community back to Plymouth Township. It's been a while since we've had a community here. We want to deliver a beautiful community for Plymouth. But we're looking at single-family homes, 2-story, 24 to 2,900 square feet. As far as our variations, we typically have 3 to 4 different floor plans with 3 to 4 different elevations each. So there should be quite a bit of different variations within the community, especially with 19 homes. And we also we don't usually allow the same 2 elevations to be right next to each other as well. So that provides a little bit more variation. As far as price point, I mean, we're very early in the process, but we're looking at mid to high 4s for base pricing. And then with options and the different selections that go in, probably deliver homes in the mid to high 5s. Again, it's very early, but that's kind of our thought for this community. So appreciate you guys' time, and thank you.
Well, I have a question. I think is that it for your team? You have the 2 people, or is there anyone else?
Yep.
You 2 are the only ones here?
Yeah, me, Andy, and Leo Gonzalez.
Okay. So are you planning on putting any ranch or master bedroom, first floor type of product?
No, that's not, no, with a 19 home community, you know, we're gonna have one model home. We view it as, you know, single family seems to work better here for us with families, kids. Our ranch product is, we typically see, it's two owner households. No, we don't have plans for ranch homes in this community.
Because we keep hearing over and over again from residents that they would like that kind of product. There's a lot of empty nesters in the community, and they cannot find any of the products that they're looking for as they're wanting to downsize.
Okay, okay.
And Margate has some of those homes in their development as well.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions on the housing stock itself before we go into the actual, more of the site plan kind of thing? Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
And if the other individual would come up, I have a question. Can you repeat for the commission, you gave us some percentages of open space and said it so fast I wasn't sure if I properly understood what you were telling us.
Between the, sorry for going so fast, but the, from the cluster housing option to the conventionally developed, it would be an increase of 37% open space.
A difference of 37%?
The difference of 30, it increases by 37% if you go to the cluster option.
Okay, that's what I didn't understand.
Right.
And then what is the percentage of open space in the cluster housing option?
The entire open space and landscape space is 70%.
Okay, that's where my confusion was. Okay. Were there other questions before I ask more? Did anyone else have a question? Okay, how many trees are you planning on removing? Have you taken a tree inventory?
We have, and it's included in your package. I think other than 3 or 4 trees, along the west property line, there are 2 nice-sized sycamores in the 20-inch variety. Everything else on site within the basin area are boxwoods, cottonwoods, not boxwoods, excuse me, box elder, Siberian elm and cottonwood, and then other trees scattered throughout. And basically all those trees are going to be taken out. They're invasive and of low quality. I do have an aerial that I looked at today, and in 2002, there were virtually no trees on the site. So the trees are young growth, invasive species, poor quality trees.
And how many trees would you be planning on planting?
Or whatever the requirement is. We'll meet the requirement, and then we're going to exceed it, especially building that woodland area on the northwest corner.
So that's what I'm referring to. Do you know how many trees you would plant in that woodland area?
We do not, but again, during the site plan process, we'll work with staff and our arborist to determine what constitutes a quality woodland. We have some education to do on we're civil engineers, so we don't get into that. But they will be able to figure that out, working with staff. And I mean, it's important to establish this because that is a big benefit to the community.
I had some comments on the
Sure,
tree
go
plan,
ahead.
but I think it'd be better to just wait until after
Okay.
the public hearing.
Well, we'll open up the public hearing. We'll call you back.
Okay.
Questions that the public may have. And I will open the public hearing at 7:43 and ask our secretary to read the communications that we've received on this.
Would you like me to read them or summarize?
Summarize.
Summarize them?
And the names of the people.
Do you want me to include the comments about Canton Center Road?
I think so, just generally.
Okay. So we received an email from, I can't read this. It looks like Jern Marquette. And this one is expressing some concerns about the project, including that the edges of the property line be marked in the future so they don't encroach on some of the existing properties in Trillium Woods. Questions about the conservation area. Will it be maintained or will it go wild? What steps will be taken to mitigate disruptions during the construction project? And then a comment about water runoff from other parts of the property. Another one from Rachel and Matt Binder, who are generally in favor of the project, but also have some concerns. Very similar to the first one, water runoff from the farm field adjacent to the property, and increase in traffic on Canton Center Road, specifically that there is safety for pedestrians, considering that there are children walking to elementary school, close proximity to the development site. Also, the condition of Canton Center Road during, about that stretch of road, there are enhancements that would be necessary to safeguard residents. The other two, I think, if I got it right, were about, one was from Amanda Dort. These are concerns about, both concerns about the conditions of the roads. This one specifically, the four-way intersection of Sheldon Road and Ann Arbor Trail, which is a block from her residence. And they're talking about traffic obstructions and in the view, and also more concerns about traffic delays from commuters, the high volume of traffic from the schools that are close by.
Did you say Sheldon and Ann Arbor Trail? That's nowhere near this.
So this one wasn't about that then, right? This is a completely different one. It was in with the other comments. You're right, though, Bob.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
You're exactly
It's a different
right.
area. It is an issue,
I
but it's
don't know
not
what they
related
wrote,
to
but
this
I
development.
think the subject is Crest Haven.
So, and was there,
There's like two more.
there were two more,
There's a
hang
couple
on.
more. Do you want, I can pass
got
it
'em?
over.
I think this is one of them.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes, thank you. This is one from Ashley Smith, and this was inquiring about paving of Canton Center Road between Ann Arbor Road and Joy, in consideration of the Crest Haven housing development that's planned. Builder, that says that the builder will pave Canton Center from the existing pavement down to in front of the new development. I believe that's a question that this person is asking, and also what would need to be done to have the remainder of Canton Center Road paved. And then the second one is from Joseph Miller, and who lives in the Margate subdivision, and has no issues with the development, but was talking about the added traffic on Canton Center Road and how the community could move forward to replace the pavement and to pave the parts of it that are currently unpaved. Thank you.
Okay.
There's two more.
There's two
Two
more.
more?
What?
I think
Didn't I thought I got
you read
those. Yes.
Yeah.
No, I didn't get those. I didn't see these. This is, I'm sorry, thank you, Kendra. This is Catherine LaGrasso. So I haven't, this is one I have not read yet. So the current dirt road and volume of traffic on Canton Center Road between Margate and Joy Road, bus and student traffic, and township seriously consider paving the entire length of North Canton Center from Margate subdivision to Joy Road, which seems to be a common theme. And then Peter Davis, and also concerned about the increase in traffic if the subdivision goes in, and school traffic, school buses, and also concerned about the dirt road would make a dust problem unbearable.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
So
You want
with,
this back, Randy?
Sure.
so with that, is there anyone here that wishes to speak to this issue? You've heard how you have limited to 3 minutes, and yeah, step up and give us your name and address if you wish.
I'm Bobby Slump. I live on Canton Center Road. We lived there for 30-some years. The entrance of the new development is coming right in front of our house. So the headlights and everything else, we're all concerned about that coming down our street. Right now, I would invite anybody on a school day to come and walk down the street without getting hit by a car right now, because we've all got signs all down our street right now that kids are playing, you know, slow, and we got a police sign out there now. I've had a car flying down the road so much, it flipped over in front of my Circle Drive. I've seen Jeeps go in the ditch. I've seen people flying down the road hundreds of miles an hour, take out a telephone pole. Telephone pole is still there. And a lot of accidents, people taking out our mailboxes right now, and the amount of traffic that you're gonna invite there with kids being safe, trying to walk down the streets, not gonna be very pleasant during school hours when moms are running late to school. You know, they gotta go to work and everything else, but our concern is, you know, the paving of the road, and the ditch right now is, on that side of the road is constantly flowing water from the new subdivision that put in right now. We don't know, it's many a times it's overflowed in the road right now with the existing sewer drains we have now. They're old, and you're gonna add into that. That's a concern of us. And the paving of the road, who's gonna maintain it? And I guess that would be it, really. And the grade of the road also, coming in from the lights, coming into our house and stuff.
Do you live on the dirt portion of the road?
Yes, been living there 30 years, love it. Then with the new school they put put on the gyms. You know, we live there and it's so dark there, it's nice, pleasant, and then all these new lights and everything else. You know, these lights nowadays are so bright, LEDs are, you know, you can't even sit out in front of your house anymore. But
Yeah, maintenance of the road will be a responsibility of Wayne County because the township doesn't own any of the roads. So and I know that road is in pretty rough shape as it approaches Ann Arbor Road. A lot of traffic right at that point.
well, most of it's the buses flying
You're right.
down the road. And if the police come out, we call the police, and they say it's 35 miles an hour. And I point across the street and it says 25. Because if you go on the other side of Ann Arbor Road, it is 35. But our street is 25. But the buses never slow down. I've numerous times called, all of us have called for the safety of our kids and stuff.
Okay, well, thank you. Appreciate you coming in. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak to this? Come on up. You can take your turn.
My name is Matt Binder. I live at 9019 North Canton Center Road. We share, my wife and I share a significant property line with the new proposed development on the south side of the development there. One of our major concerns, and you commented on the written comments we submitted, was water runoff of the area. We don't feel it's being addressed in the plan as it is right now. That area in the south part is, we're toward the lower left of the screen there, with a 10-foot conservation buffer. That section of field gets inundated every time it rains and it's snow melt, and that water will sit there for weeks at a time. Subsequently, as the land is all pitched that way, it runs through our backyard, it surrounds our outbuilding, flows onto the neighbor's property, even on the other side of us. So there's a flooding concern there that we don't think is addressed by any of the catch basins or any of the rainwater management on that site. And obviously our concern being our home at that point, whether it be flooded out with adding impermeable surfaces, concrete, sidewalks, things like that, will very likely just exacerbate that issue. So we would request that be reviewed specifically there. In line with Bobby's comment, Canton Center Road does have a lot of traffic. It's a major thoroughfare to the Plymouth Canton Educational Park that's right there. There are really hardly any crosswalks. There's very little signage. The sidewalks, we believe, are inadequate. As soon as you get to the paved portion, the sidewalk ends, forcing children to then have to kind of cross over before there's actually a crosswalk. The crosswalk is actually farther to the, what would that be, the north. of Canton Center Road. So children that would be traveling up still need to cross that portion of Canton Center Road, whereas if you've ever been there at pickup time or drop-off time, there are cars lined up for hundreds of feet up and down the road there. So it's you would be asking children to be weaving in between idling cars, not even just parked cars, but standing cars where people aren't even in park at that point. We feel that's a major safety concern that should be looked at. And then the other concern we had was we feel that the privacy buffers aren't probably enough between our property and theirs. They're requesting to cut down, I think, 80-some trees and only replace a portion of those. Again, that standing water issue, we're concerned if the plants that they do want to put there would even survive in that area. And then at that point, we have zero coverage between our property and the neighboring property there. So we're concerned about maintaining our privacy that we have at our property there. So the McKenna report, I believe, mentions at least 15 different items that need clarification and need to be reassessed. So we would request that those items be addressed in the report itself, and then table this until we can get an amended proposal.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coming in. Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Luis Uranga. My wife and I and my adult son live on
If you could
Spruce.
address us, because we can't hear you when you.
I apologize.
Yeah.
Luis Uranga, my wife and I and our adult son live on Spruce, 45914 Spruce. We've been residents there for a short time. We moved about 10 months ago from another state. We love being where we are, and our main concern from the little we know at this point is about traffic increase, that has to be addressed in whatever way it can. You cannot eliminate growth, I understand that, but I just want to be another voice for that aspect of concern, which I think has already been repeatedly stated. That's all I have to say.
Okay, well, thanks for coming in. Sure. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Matt Esper. I live at 9225 Canton Center Road. We are on the north adjacent property to the proposed development. I would like to echo our concerns about the traffic on the road. We have witnessed multiple accidents, cars flipped over, increased traffic. We have kids who go across the street to school. We recently witnessed our neighbor's pet run over by a dog from the increased traffic. It's a bit of a problem. My other concern is in our free space in Plymouth, are we going to fill it up with compact housing? What does that look like in the future? I know it's good for the tax base, but if we put too many people in a small area, it changes the dynamic of where we live. This whole community on Canton Center are large lots. We enjoy our privacy, and that is rapidly changing with Margate and now Crest Haven. We're concerned about that. I am also an arborist. I love my trees. We plant trees, and historically, the quality of trees that are placed in these new developments are cheap to meet the minimum requirements, and I do have concerns about that. So we have green space, we put these trees in, they die off quickly because they're not maintained or poorly planted to save the budget, right? Can we address that issue? Can we get some native trees and not just the lowest quality trees put in? Those are my concerns.
Okay, well, thank you for coming in.
All right, thanks for hearing me.
Sure. Anyone else? Okay.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alex Gohl. I live at 45776 Spruce in the Margate community. I'd like to thank the community for building it, letting it come to the community. My wife and I live there, and we've really enjoyed our time so far after being residents for about a year. I'd just like to echo the support for the review of the increased traffic that will likely come to Canton Center Road. And we already have kind of a deteriorating piece of the road, which will cause people to, swerve and avoid that, as there are, increased traffic times, that can cause some potential, collisions that it sounds like have been happening in the road. And also, it looks like there was a plan to add a sidewalk from the proposed new community, which would certainly be, add to the safety, as there is the sidewalk right now. It's not continuous. So that looks like that would be a benefit there. But it does seem like if we have, even now with about half the road unpaved, and the amount of accidents that are happening, it seems like if we're paving more of it, that it could mean increased speeds, and there are certainly there's young kids looking to get to the high school campus that don't typically respect the 25-mile-per-hour speed limit. So I think just some consideration for how could we keep the kids safe who are going to be walking to and from school, and also just walking around the community. So just like to voice my support for those concerns.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, then we will close the public hearing at 8:01. And maybe both the Pulte representative, both of you, and the engineer can come up forward and we'll ask you some questions. I'm going to defer first to Commissioner Boyd, who had some questions.
Well, thank you. Bob, could we bring up the Google map of the, this is a question I could not determine definitively, but if you look at the property up there, you'll see that there's a very thick stand of trees to the northwest. Yes, exactly, right in there. I believe, looking at the plot plan, that is part of the development. But if you look at the plot plan, you'll also see that most of that appears to be planned to be dug up and made into a retention pond, actually 2 retention ponds. It would seem to me that, and again, in light of our conversations about trees here in Plymouth Township and the Elks development, and Marianne, the session we had a few weeks ago, it would seem to me that I think it might behoove us to look at the property and ask, is it the right thing to tear down a bunch of trees there to put up a retention pond? Could we put the retention pond along the entrance off of Canton Center Road instead and preserve those trees there as as part of the benefit of the cluster housing development? And again, as I said, I can't quite tell for sure, so it could be that I'm missing some of the details. It would be helpful, however, if you could stake out the borders of this development. It does appear there's some stakes up there, but not around that area. And I would encourage all the commissioners to park along Canton Center Road there and walk back into that area. And I think you'll see the trees. It's pretty significant development of trees. And while I support the idea of retaining the trees on the northwest corner, that alone I don't think optimizes the potential here. And as this is a cluster housing option, we're looking for some type of justification to qualify the increase from 13 to 19 homes. It seems to me that a big part of that typically is to try to preserve natural features, and I'm not sure that the proposal right now is doing that. I did also want to talk about trees for a minute. We do have the tree survey page. It does not tell us what the current plan is in terms of which trees would be removed and saved, but looking at the tree inventory, there are 11 trees on the site that are ranked as fair. There's none that are ranked as good, which is unfortunate, but there are 11 trees that are ranked as fair. Of those, there are 2 black walnuts, 2 American sycamores, which you mentioned earlier, and 1 sugar maple. Those are 5 trees of very desirable species. The other 6 are not desirable, as you had mentioned earlier. There are also 14 trees that are marked fair to poor. Of those 5, there's a black walnut, sugar maple, a green ash, a black cherry, and again, it would be helpful, at least for me and perhaps for the commission as well, to actually plot those trees. We have the tree survey, but it's not, you can't look at this and tell where those trees are located. And it would be helpful for us to understand, is there an opportunity maybe to switch a lot line a little bit and save one of those trees, one or more of those trees? So I guess my overall reaction here is that I think there are some positives to this. I like the fact that it continues the stub road from Margate. But I really would ask that as we look at this, we take a serious look at, are we getting the benefits that are envisioned by granting the cluster housing option? So those are kind of my overall comments.
Other comments from commissioners?
Yeah, I'm not really convinced that, that there's enough, here to justify a cluster housing option. It seems to be kind of stretching to me. We're looking to provide a justification for, and it's not really in alignment with the conditions and the requirements of the cluster housing option, in my view. I'm having a real difficult time.
I agree, and I think the planner's report really brings that to light in detail of all the holes and what constitutes getting a cluster housing option.
Yeah, it goes into great amount of detail.
I also had a question about the open space. I guess I come from a world where you apply what's called a test of reasonableness, and it doesn't register to me that a development with 19 homes is going to actually offer more open space than the development with 13 homes, which is what would ordinarily be allowed with this zoning. It just doesn't, to my mind, meet the test of reasonableness. So, Laura, what exactly is the definition of open space as you do this?
The open space is common area that's preserved in perpetuity. So it's not under one private ownership that, that individual could just have no landscaping, right? No trees, no vegetation in their front yard, in their side yard, or their rear yards. That these are areas that are going to be preserved and maintained and have some sort of environmental ecological benefit to not just who lives there today, but in another 10, 15, 20, 50 years, that because of the master deed and the cluster housing agreement, that those areas will be preserved. So that can be especially important along the green belt and in the other common areas, which they do have space dedicated for that. But I think the quality of those spaces could be improved, and we need to really compare the land cover in acreage of those areas versus what would be achieved under conventional zoning and what that increase is, not just in terms of percentage, but the actual size of those areas.
Okay, thank you for that. That helps explain a little bit to me. When I think of open space, I was thinking not just of the common area, but also just the land of each lot that doesn't have a house on it. That, to me, that is my definition of open space, and that's probably why I have that disconnect. So thank you for that explanation.
Does that include the detention pond?
It would, but we'd like to see that further broken out, because the detention basin in that area, right, is not a amenity of a cluster housing option. It is a requirement through Wayne County stormwater. So the other areas in addition to that is what we want to measure and understand the difference between the conventional versus what's being proposed.
Tim, I think the answer to that is because what is open space on somebody's private lot could become closed space at some point in the future.
I see, okay.
So when you gave us the statistics about open
Mm-hmm.
space, you
Yes.
mentioned planting areas. So were you referring to the landscaping that would exist on a person's individual lot? Their
Well,
landscape?
according to McKenna's review letter, they calculate open space and landscape space together, and I referenced that, the 70%.
So you did count the space that would be grass or landscaped
Yeah.
areas on individual homes?
Right. But the calculation for the 37% increase from conventional development to the cluster just counts the open space areas that are shared by the community, not the individual lots.
That are deeded open space in perpetuity.
Correct.
But your 70% that you had mentioned, is that just space that is not house?
I'll defer to Laura because that's her number.
That, the 70%?
Yeah, that's in your chart on the first page.
I think that's because it's listed in the plans. We were asking for clarification and the distinction between those spaces. Yeah, a simple table, I think, would really help. We don't have the ability to calculate that.
Okay.
So what about the road?
The paving of Canton Center Road?
Yeah.
So the paving of Canton Center Road, again, from the south entrance of the school would be paved down to the south property line. So it's a substantial portion of Canton Center Road that will be paved. And I think, you know, traffic is always a concern with any development that goes in anywhere. And I think one of the concerns would be for the safety of the residents to have a second means of ingress and egress for the Margate residents. Right now, they're just a big dead end with all those residents going nowhere. This will provide another access to Canton Center Road for those people.
So Magnolia is currently the only ingress and egress into Margate?
That was reviewed by the fire department, so it meets their standards.
Yeah. So, but with this proposal, the road would be paved from Isbister to the entrance into Crest Haven, or just a little bit south of that, but we
Correct.
still have the stretch south of that to Joy Road that would remain dirt.
So Bob, how, do you know how the Plymouth Township, or how could Wayne County be contacted most appropriately to pave the rest of it and repair the front?
Good
You know,
luck with that.
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
So typically traditionally this would be done through the SAD process. I think when Ridge was paved way back in the day, that was before my time, I think they did an SAD and did an assessment on the people in Ridgewood.
Correct.
Yeah. So, you know, unless the homeowners are willing to pay for the paving of the road, you know, it typically remains unpaved because Wayne County won't come and pave it. So there's like two other roads in the township that are still dirt, over one off of Sheldon. Yeah,
Don Glenn?
yeah.
Have we contacted the county?
I don't know.
Has there been any contact
I
at all?
don't know if anybody has on behalf of, is Heisey, do you know?
I mean, I know that the supervisor's office is constantly in communication with Wayne County and their improvements. This might be a good question for Spalding DeDecker and Louisa, our township engineer. Speak to.
Yeah, so we did get some concerns about the Canton Center Road, and we're exploring some available options, but we're still exploring, so we don't know that will be an option yet to pave the rest of the road, but
That would not be cheap.
yeah, that's correct.
Bob, do special assessment districts, would it just be the homes that are on Canton Center?
So you
Or would it also be developments that feed into it?
So it depends on how you define the SAD. So the SAD can be defined to include any homes that get beneficial use of that roadway. So I haven't personally, I don't know, Kevin, have you ever been involved in defining an SAD?
Yes, I have. It depends on the nature of the SAD, and it's generally assessed based on the frontage of each respective property.
I can add a little bit to this. I've been a resident of Western Plymouth Township for 32 years, and about 3 years after I moved in there, the SAD, Bob, that you referred to, which paved Ridge Road from North Territorial to Powell, and Powell from Ridge to Beck, was a special assessment district. All of the subdivisions that abutted those two roads shared in the special assessment charge. So it wasn't just the houses that fronted, it was all of the subdivisions associated with it.
Because they were all considered to benefit from it?
Exactly, yeah. I do have an update, though. Many years later, Wayne County had not maintained this investment that we had made as homeowners on Ridge and Powell, and we were trying to get Wayne County to come in and perform preventive maintenance. It was a 10-year battle. We finally got it done, but that's indicative of what happens in dealing with Wayne County. You need to be really persistent, respectful, but very persistent over time. But a comment was made to me by one of the senior people in the Wayne County Roads Department during those discussions, and I thought I understood him to say that special assessment districts on major roads like Ridge and Powell and Canton Center are relatively unusual in the Wayne County area. Typically, it's more within subdivisions. So that's, again, I'm not 100% clear on that, but that's an interesting point.
Well, the reason I would think would be because in a subdivision, you're repairing and rehabilitating a road that is deteriorated. You're not converting a dirt road to a paved road. I mean, I don't know how many dirt roads are left in the county, but there can't be that many. So unfortunately that's, the situation that we deal with. Whether we could get the county to kick in some funds to pave that remaining segment is a question that we would have to explore.
Well, somebody employed by the county, I'd be happy to try to facilitate that, but
Great.
No, I mean, but I don't know all the ins and outs of what you're talking about for the subdivision, but if it can be of any assistance, I know, some of the people over there in public service.
Yeah,
in the road
it
commission.
certainly couldn't help couldn't hurt, sorry. Sorry about that.
Freudian slip there, Ben.
Yeah.
It couldn't hurt. Jim, that
I'll
would be
make
very
inquiry.
much appreciated. Sorry, I didn't mean to
No, you're good.
dismiss what you were saying.
Could I address a few of the comments?
Yes, please.
First of all, I'd like to address the trees and that Councilman Boyd, is it?
Yes, it's.
That you raised. If you look at sheet number LP3, the tree preservation plan, that shows which trees are, where they're located with the site plan and which trees are being removed. It looks like in the vicinity of the detention basin, there is a 6-inch black walnut that is going to be removed, and then all the rest of the trees are box elder, Siberian elm, mulberry. There are some silver maples that are going to be removed along the west property line, but they're growing as in the understory of the sycamore trees, and they're damaging the health of the sycamores. So they need to be selectively removed to preserve the sycamore, because those are 26-inch sycamore trees. With regards to stormwater for the adjacent property, I believe that there is an issue with stormwater coming onto that property, because if you look at the topography, it all comes from the west to the southeast corner of the site. It's unabated, it's just flowing. What we're going to do, and what every development needs to do, or is required to do, is it's going to contain that water, bring it into the detention basin and detain it for a period of time and then release it at a discharge rate. So it's going to fix the problem of that homeowner right there, of all that water coming onto your property. And then to the same end, on the entrance drive on the adjacent to your property, we're proposing a 37-foot buffer between the pavement and it could be the pavement or the right-of-way and your property line. So then you have your side yard setback as well. And then behind it, it's another, I think, maybe 50-foot buffer behind your house to the adjacent house. Something, it could be 35, but don't quote me on that, but it's a substantial buffer. Oh, here, I have it on the plan here. It doesn't have the dimension, I'm sorry. And again, regarding traffic, we're paving about 500 feet of North Canton Center Road, again, from the south entrance of the school down to the south property line. I think that's about all I had.
I have a question for the commissioners, but more directly to Kendra and Bob. Are you thinking that you would particularly vote or not particularly in favor of the cluster housing option for further consideration, or that, as the planners had suggested, that we table this and give them an opportunity to beef up this plan? So what are your thoughts on that? And anyone else that's...
Well, if we table it, what is the outcome that we're looking for? That's the question. Fundamental question is, do we support the argument that this should be a cluster housing option and permit the 19 homes? Because if we're asking them to go back and just make modifications to the plan, what are we aiming at?
That's exactly what I was driving at. If do you see a resolution in your line of thinking at this point, or are we just spinning our wheels?
I don't know. Like I said earlier, I'm not convinced that this should be a cluster housing option. I'm just I'm just not seeing it.
For me, I think if all the items are addressed and reworked as in the McKenna report, it could work. But as is, it doesn't qualify.
Anyone else have thoughts on this?
I think, Kendra, you've summed it up very well. In particular, again, I would like to understand the potential of moving the retention pond and preserving that large stand of trees on the northeast corner of the site. That's just one example of the kind of thing that would weigh toward saying there is sufficient justification for cluster housing, whereas right now, as it's presently proposed, I don't believe it meets the criteria. So what I'm saying is I think it could with changes and clarifications, but as right now, I don't believe it meets the criteria.
Frankly, I think that I don't say this too often, but this was poorly prepared plan. There's a lot of missing information that we just can't make a clear decision because there's so many unanswered questions. For me personally, one of the things that hasn't been mentioned enough is the diversity of housing. So when I drove through Margate recently and when it was under development, I did see that there were some other types of housing located in their development. That's also true at Village Manor, which is, next to Margate, and I happen to have my daughter had lived there for a number of years, and I was always impressed with the type of people that lived there. There were single women, there were families with kids because of the location is great, for a family, and there were also retirees. I don't see that here. And we've been talking a lot lately amongst ourselves and during public comments. People want a diversity of housing. So, I think you have to decide whether or not you see the direction that some of us have, and there may be others coming up. And if you're willing to take that step to try to improve what you presented to us tonight.
Right, you can table this, but just don't come back with the same proposal.
I'm gonna,
So if it were to be tabled, what, for those of you that are support tabling it, what would they need to come back with to push you over or get over the finish line to move your vote from table to approve?
I'd like to see some of the questions that were asked in the planner's report addressed, because I don't think we have enough information. I mean, if they gave us that additional information, for me personally, I'm not sure if I would still vote for a cluster housing, but I just feel like it's a shot in the dark.
I think the planner's report really lays out the types of changes that need to be made in order to make this a project that we could even consider approving.
Anyone else have a comment or thoughts? So do you want to take the next step and try to improve this, or where do you feel you're going to go with
We
this
do.
project?
Members of the commission, Leo Gonzalez on behalf of Phoenix Management Holdings. We will go back, we'll address the concern that the planner had and go through each step that we've taken here and see how we can improve upon it. As for product mix, here's my take on that. We're gonna provide single-family homes to this community. There are families that are living in some condos in this community because there was not enough opportunity for housing at the right time when they needed it. What we would hope is some of those families would come out of those condos into these single-family, open up opportunity for empty nesters that are sitting in their single-family home that, to your point, well made, Chairman Cebulski, don't have an opportunity to stay in the community because there hasn't been any detached ranch homes built in this community for a number of years. So we hope that through this development, we'll provide some opportunity for these families still to stay in the community and open up. So indirectly, we're opening up some more opportunity for some other empty nesters to move out of this large single-family homes, this Country Club Village, Ridgewood West, and so forth, that have been built over the many years in this community. We'll address the trees. The trees that are in the detention pond will be clear on which ones are protected trees, which ones are invasive trees, and sort of give us a list of how we looked at that and see what adjustments we can make, and certainly address the concerns of the neighbor regarding the adjacent properties to the north. Having 500 feet of additional pavement to this road will add to the overall quality of the experience of the people in that neighborhood, we hope, and to the overall traffic that comes in to and from the elementary school as well as the middle school for all these years.
Yeah, so, and also, I would like to see, what are you preserving? And a clear understanding of where this open space is. It just, as Commissioner Boyd said, I don't see how there could be this much open space when you're adding so many additional homes over the parallel plan.
We can put together a chart.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a step that we'll take, and so we have a separate exhibit, and certainly compare that to a single-family development.
Okay, well, what is the commissioner's feelings on this, or you have additional questions or comments?
I think we need more, but I'm willing to table it and let them have that opportunity.
Laura, did you have anything you wanted to add to the discussion?
No.
Now I would ask the planner, when you do the review, when they submit something, in addition to pay close attention to the drainage for the folks that are here and the flooding that may be occurring on the roadway there.
Yeah, that's in engineering review. We make sure all the storm is detained on site. We'll check on that for sure.
Is there a motion, or are we ready for a motion?
So how long would you want to come back? 3 months, 6 months?
We will come back in, well, we're past this deadline now, so we come back for the August meeting.
Okay, just not with the same plan. Mr. Chairman, I move that we table PC application 2526, Crest Haven, the cluster housing option, for up to 90 days.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Barberina and supported by Commissioner Boyd to table application 2526 for up to 90 days. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
come
you.
back with something that we can appreciate and raises the design elements from what you've given us.
Do you want to mention that there won't be a public hearing now?
Yeah, so for the folks here, I assume you're all here for this application. There will not be another public hearing, although, we will take public hearing or public comments, and you're always free to communicate. And if you do want to come to the meeting when they're on the agenda, again, that information is available on the township website. There's also a way that you can sign up to be alerted to any agendas, meeting packets as they come before our group and also the Board of Trustees. And then you'll automatically get a message that, what's showing up. So we appreciate you all coming in today, and we'll see where this development goes.
Right,
Right,
but you
thank
won't
you.
receive another notice in the mail. So it'll be up to you to check the website, the agenda, or sign up for that email notification.
And to the arborist that is concerned about the quality of trees and the type of trees, you're always welcome to email the planning department. You can do that through the township website with any more detailed suggestions. They have an arborist on staff as well, so we're limited, on what the ordinance permits us to do, but some of those items can be negotiated if the cluster housing option is approved. Okay. All right. Did somebody have a question? I saw him.
Money in county on a road issue.
No, there will be no more, there will not be any additional mailing. I can't quite hear you.
It's Yeah, it's within a certain radius that the
500 feet.
the notices go through.
We'll look into that. If we need to do another formalized hearing, we would. So,
Okay, but I think the question is, the people at Margate didn't receive a notice, but it has to be within a certain radius of the property, correct?
yeah, it's calculated in GIS, so we'll continue to review it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Next is our monthly planning report. The meeting's not over, but you're welcome to stay. We're going to be talking about the monthly planning report, a motion, election of secretary. So if those items interest you, stick around.
And if they don't, you won't
We won't take it personally.
TV, might as well stay here.
But it was nice to see you all here.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you. Okay, did anyone have any questions or comments on the monthly report?
Yes, I did. Can find it now again.
They're interested in.
On page 3, project number 2521, this is the Ponds of Andover development. There was a proposal for a lot combination application. Was that just to get the paperwork to match what was originally reviewed with you all?
Yes, yes. It didn't have anything to do with the actual cluster housing, just the two parcels there.
That development was approved before I joined the planning commission, so it's been, I guess, almost 3 years. Does that sound right? That since you guys approved that, is it normal that there would be that kind of backlog or timing? I guess, let me restate that. Is there any timing restriction that would require them to start construction or else the approval is withdrawn?
Yes, this September. The final one will expire and they can't ask for any more extensions.
Okay, all right, this September. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
I have a question regarding for the master plan. Will the meeting that was canceled be rescheduled?
Yes, this was something that Commissioner Boyd had asked about, and we're working on when we might be able to reserve the space to do that. So right now, we're still scheduled to have the transportation one in August.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. Next is a resolution of appreciation for Commissioner Gail Grieger.
Commissioner Grieger, who we're very sad to see go.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, you did a great job.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Too short,
Thank you.
definitely
Thank
too
you very
short.
much.
Have you thought about petitioning Northville Township? Section next to Plymouth Township?
That would be spot annexing.
Annexing, yeah. Just that neighborhood where there's the product that all the empty
Right.
nesters want. I'll take it under consideration, but thank you.
So we have a resolution of appreciation. Whereas Gail Grieger has served on the Plymouth Township Planning Commission for over 2 years, having been appointed on September 28th, 2021. And whereas Gail Grieger's dedication, ability, and talent have been invaluable to the execution of the duties charged to the Charter Township of Plymouth Planning Commission. And whereas Gail Grieger's professionalism, dedication, talents, and personal commitment to seek planning excellence, best practices, and advocacy of sound planning principles have contributed immeasurably to the continued progress and orderly development of the Plymouth community, and have been invaluable to the execution of the duties charged to the Charter Township of Plymouth Planning Commission and to the citizens of Plymouth Township. And whereas the success of the democratic form of government depends upon the voluntary leadership and contribution of time and talent on the part of its citizens, now therefore be it resolved that the Planning Commission of the Charter Township of Plymouth herewith expresses recognition and appreciation for the service and support rendered by Gail Grieger to the Planning Commission and the people of Plymouth Township, and extends best wishes to her for the future.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And we'll have the,
sign this.
well, we're going to have a more official
Okay.
document prepared.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And then
Thank
we'll
you. I appreciate
get
it very much.
delivered
Thank
to
you. It's been a pleasure serving with all of you.
You could have this as a draft.
Thank you.
Okay,
When are you moving, Gail?
I already moved,
Oh, you moved?
but I haven't sold my house in Plymouth Township
Oh.
yet, so.
She used to live here.
So can you wait until after the August election?
Supervisor, the first thing that Supervisor Hussie asked me is if I could vote early.
And often.
well, we have, you made the motion, but we have a motion on the floor. So is there support for the Grieger resolution?
Support.
Okay, moved and supported for the resolution of appreciation to Commissioner Grieger. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and you abstain.
I
I'm
abstain,
sure.
yes.
Okay. Next comes the fun part. We need a new secretary, and we cannot postpone it. Somebody has to step up and be secretary.
And if someone would like to be vice chair, I'll take secretary, if that would be the commission's desire.
It's not that bad. You take notes anyway.
So we're not leaving until we have.
But I can't do both again.
I did it for the ZBA.
Oh, yeah.
So does anyone wish to
It's
step up?
actually.
Eeny, meeny, miny,
It's
moe.
actually very enjoyable, and it's not a lot of additional work. Laura does a great job of doing the minutes, and it maybe is an extra 15 minutes for each meeting to go through things and make sure that everything matches up. So. What about?
Got a full-time job, somebody else.
We're not leaving here until somebody,
Till the white smoke starts popping out.
the white smoke comes out.
I think Tim would be an excellent
Yeah.
vice chair if Kendra wants to take back over
Very
as.
detailed oriented.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You'd be great at either one.
I'm sorry, what was that comment?
Okay, so they.
I don't listen
They
very well.
elected me when I wasn't here.
Ah.
I was on vacation.
Tim is very talented, very detailed oriented, super
Yeah,
smart.
Commissioner Boyd, would you be interested in either position? Or maybe Dennis will like offer up his too.
Yeah, you can do it.
Okay, I can be vice chairperson, if that would help us.
You'll be back as secretary. Okay, so, do you want to make a motion to nominate him as vice chair?
Should I resign from it first? Or how does that matter?
You can just say, did you want, well, we've never voted on a resignation for anybody.
No.
I mean, we didn't vote for her.
You didn't, when you resigned, we didn't vote on it.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Commissioner Boyd as vice chairman of the planning commission.
Is there support?
Support.
Okay,
Who got it first?
Jim.
Jim?
Jim. Okay, so let me. All in favor of electing Commissioner Boyd as vice chair, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'm going to abstain.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm abstaining.
Okay,
And we still have a quorum for that,
we
right?
still have a quorum. All opposed? Okay, congratulations. And
You
now,
can make all the motions now.
Oh, boy. You could have told me that before.
It's fine, just.
and I would like to move to nominate Commissioner Barberina as secretary. Is there support?
Support.
Okay. Moved by myself and supported by Commissioner Boyd to elect Commissioner Barberina as secretary. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll abstain.
And I'll abstain on this one
Okay.
too.
Motion carries. Great, that wasn't so hard.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other comments from the commission? And anything from you, Laura, about the item D here? Did we want to talk about the Environmental Commission? What they had given us, this document, Green Michigan?
Yep, that's at the pleasure of the commission. If you'd like to discuss anything tonight, the agenda for July looks light. We don't have any public hearings, and I think we are just gonna have a sign application. So that might be an opportunity to go
Okay.
into more detail if, whatever the commission is comfortable with.
What do you think?
I think it's a good idea.
It's a good idea. Gail's like, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Are we kind of in general agreement on this? Okay, all right. Well, if there's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:43?
Gail, do you want to do the honors?
I will. Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to adjourn the Planning Commission meeting at 8:43 PM.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Grieger and supported by Commissioner Barberina to adjourn the meeting at 8:43. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries adjourned.